they charge higher prices. A lot of the price difference is because their price includes standing by the bedside, and we don't include that in their price. If people want to have somebody standing by the bedside, I was talking about standing by the bedside and putting somebody in an ice bath and all that. People will have to make arrangements. There's an organization in Florida that many of our members contract with, including myself, called Suspend Animation, that does nothing but, in terms of the cryonic service they provide, but stand by the bedside. So if you combine that price with our price, you get a price that's closer to Alcor's price. So that accounts for a lot of the price difference. Alcor has a lot larger staff than we do. It has about twice as many people signed up for the process as we do. But it's actually got fewer patients in storage than we do.
Let's say somebody in California is pronounced clinically dead, and they have signed on for cryonics. What happens next if these organizations are in different parts of the country? What happens?
Well, we use funeral directors. Funeral directors do shipping. That's what they do professionally. And Alcor has to work through funeral directors if they want to ship a body from one state to another, because the people are legally dead. It's I don't know that it's obvious, but it is best to be very close to the organization and not have to spend a day or two in ice being shipped from one state to another. But at least at that temperature, there's a reduction in the amount of damage. It isn't like shipping at body temperature, which you're shipping in ice. As far as the standby, Alcor standby teams will go all over the United States, and Suspended Animation will go all over the United States. The coverage in other countries is a little more difficult for all these organizations.
At the end of the day, though, I can understand if they have standby, but at the end of the day, if you don't have standby, isn't there a bit of an X factor with the funeral directors if they don't do what you tell them to do?
Yeah. There's some funeral directors are better than others. It's some funeral directors. The Robert Ettinger with his second wife actually had the funeral directors acting as a standby team. He paid them $1,000 a year retainer, and when his wife had her stroke and was terminal, was able to have the funeral director there and apply cardiopulmonary support and ice water cooling. So.
Wow, interesting. Very, very interesting.
It's hard. Some funeral directors are really good, and some aren't. So you can't really. We encourage our members to get to know their funeral director.
I would say that in the entire process you're talking about, that is the X factor right there.
Well, yeah, it can be.
It probably takes a cooperative team.
Yeah, that's true.
I had a question about the accidental or violent death of somebody. If somebody has experienced a trauma, which moves them into clinical death, are they still able to go through cryonics?
Well, it's when someone dies suddenly, then there's no prospect for standby, and so they're going to be preserved under worse conditions than if there was a standby. But there's all manners of degree. As I say, I think the idea that a person's brain self-destructs after 6 minutes is mistaken. I think the experiments done with rodents has shown that brain cells remain viable for. I mean, they don't actually even start. Only about 15% of them are actually dead after 6 hours. So after 12 hours or so, I think it gets to be up to 65%. But it's as I say, the breaking down of tissue and the breaking down of cellular structure is something that happens over a long period of time. It isn't something that's as rapid as people think. And so I think that if you can, even if a person is gone for a period of time and not been cooled immediately, I think there's still hope for them.
Interesting. The source of your information, how long ago did you find that out, that the 6-hour rule may not be true?
Well, the 6-minute rule.
6-minute rule, excuse me.
Well, I mean, I don't know about when I found out. It's hard to say. It's a matter of when particular experiments were done. I'd have to look at the papers. I think the one experiment I had in mind was the mouse experiments was done in 1994. But Peter Safar, the guy who invented cardiopulmonary resuscitation, was doing experiments in dogs as long as 20 or 30 years ago. I'm not sure. It was maybe even 1976 he did experiments, those kinds of experiments, with cooling dogs and having dogs survive for much longer, recover from much longer than a 6-minute period just by improving his perfusion techniques and overcoming the no reflow phenomenon. Part of the 6-minute problem is that blood doesn't move as readily, doesn't move as easily, if it doesn't move as easily after 6 minutes. It just the white blood cells start sticking to the walls more and that sort of thing. And Peter Safar discovered means of overcoming some of those problems in dogs with plasma expanders and epinephrine and stuff like that. Things that are used in advanced cardio resuscitation at the moment. I don't know. I'm not really answering your question.
No, that's okay. First of all, I want to thank you for taking your time today and giving us an hour of your time to discuss your work in cryonics and what it's about and to inform the listeners. Is there anything else you wish to share with the people who listen to It's Rainmaking Time? Is there anything that is important to you to tell the audiences?
That there's lots of information out there on the web if you want to learn more. Just Google Cryonics FAQ for frequently asked questions about cryonics, or just Google cryonics and look at what the cryonics organizations have to say, or whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with Ben Best, the president of the Cryonics Institute, who's been in the business for over 20 years in a most interesting and rarefied field. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you, Kim.